Oh, snap. What's going on, guys?
What's going
You know
on,
what time
guys?
it is. It's talking time. It's another episode of Talking
I like
with
that.
Andrew and Chris. Yeah,
That's pretty good.
I threw that out. I kind of
I
figured
mean,
you
it's
would
easy.
get.
It's low hanging fruit, but it works. So I mean,
Yeah,
look,
listen,
if the fruit's hanging that low, you're gonna grab it. I mean, that's kind of
that's kind of the point.
yeah, you know.
Listen, if I'm hungry, I'm gonna grab a low-hanging fruit, and I was hungry for some talking time.
Yeah, yeah,
It, fe-
exactly, man.
it feels
There's
like it's been a while since I've talked to you.
it has. We get busy, but not busy enough to not make time for this podcast here. So Andrew, before we get into the pleasantries and saying hello to each other again, why don't we tell the listeners who we are, what we do, and why they're here today? And I'm putting that on
Uh,
you.
Okay. I mean, I hope that if they're here listening, that they have at least a little bit of idea what we're doing. But as the full title suggests, I'm Andrew, and sorry, I'm not used to this mirrored thing, and
Yeah.
that's Chris. And
No
we
worries.
have this show, Talking with Andrew and Chris, where we talk to each other and interesting others about
Yeah.
life, music, and pretty much everything that falls between those two extremely general topics.
Nothing's off
And
limits for the most
no,
part. Yeah.
well, some things
Well,
are off
yeah,
limits, but that's the not live talk. That's the off
right,
air
right,
talk.
exactly. No, and
Um, but yeah, so we just like to have interesting conversations with interesting people, and I feel like we have a pretty interesting people here today.
we
But
we do a weird tense there, but that works because this guy we thankfully have. I've already spoken to him once already. He's a phenomenal musician, and he's even done quite a bit of acting. And he's been in a little movie from the '80s called The Karate Kid. Heard of it?
ooh, I've
I
heard of
know
that
you
one.
have.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
may or may not have taken Taekwondo because I saw that movie, but that's neither here nor there.
really, that's cool.
Maybe we'll get into it.
Nice. Well, okay. I guess. Hey, look, we'll get into it, but I am curious to know what belt you reached.
Black dude, first degree.
Nice.
Come
Okay.
on.
You got
I
some
go all the
skills
way.
tucked
My
away
dad was
back
not
there,
gonna let
man.
my dad was not gonna pay as much as he did and let me not get to the end, so
Right. Yeah. If he's paying for it, you better get the most out of it. I totally understand that. But yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
on top of that, man, this guy is just he's a pro all around. He's in the band Survivor, among many other bands, as I learned last week.
I've heard of that too.
Yeah, yeah, you have. I'm sure you have. I mean, I think if your finger and can touch a pulse, let alone is on the pulse of pop culture at all, I think you've heard of some of the things we've been in, or he's been in rather. And today we are lucky enough to chat with this guy. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the second time this week, first time on Talking with Andrew and Chris, everyone please welcome Jeffrey Bryan to the show. What's going on, Jeff?
Woo! Thunderous applause.
Woo! That's what the audiences sound like right now.
Dude,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, man. It's
Yeah. Woo!
thank you, COVID.
I know, dude. So it's no surprise that you've toured the world, I assume, right? And
Yeah.
you
Oh, yeah.
you even kind of last week hinted at that you've toured with bands like Journey and I forget some of the others that you
Well,
said.
no, we've opened up. I haven't toured with Journey.
Mhm.
Survivor has opened for them, and so like a lot of those bands were playing together back in the heyday. So
Right.
they bundle the concerts together. So it wouldn't be surprising to like do a show and Rick Springfield's either the opening act or the main act, or Richard Marx or Journey at one point,
Wow.
um, Cheap Trick, all these
Yeah.
guys.
Wow. Love Cheap
I've
Trick,
heard of
man.
them.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I've
My
heard of
uncle
them too.
says they're the hardest working band of all time.
With Cheap Trick,
Yeah.
Cheap Trick.
Yeah. He can go
yeah,
on a whole
they're
diatribe
amazing.
about
They
that.
still are good, man. They're great.
But the reason I kind of start with that is because I'm just curious as someone who's toured for a living. I mean, you got to miss it a lot, right? This whole
Oh
COVID
yeah,
stuff's got to be
yeah,
insane. I mean,
yeah.
how are you holding up without being able to step on a stage and perform? Because the few tours Andrew and I've done, and we would play a show every now and then when we were lucky enough to get a show worthwhile. I'm missing it, so I can only imagine
Yeah.
you. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't really express just the fact that it's extremely it's difficult. Okay, I mean, I'm not sick and I don't have those kind of issues, but I mean, being held back from doing something for no reason other than it could be dangerous is really weird, and
Right.
it's really hard to. I mean, everybody's willing to do something, you know, to a degree, you know, if they say, hey, lay out for a month or two, but we're you know, we're coming around 7 months,
Yeah.
and this year ain't gonna happen. Next year is questionable. I'm just like, wow, where's the music
Right.
industry? What the hell? We
It's
just
all in
destroyed an
Europe now.
industry and a lifestyle. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
So fortunately for me though, I gotta in fact, when I'm done with this, I gotta run to a studio. I have a rehearsal.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
wow.
So I'm actually playing a gig soon. So, but not with Survivor. But yeah, right. But
Fingers crossed.
anyway, so to answer your question, it's not been easy, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, it's been necessary, and it's got to stop soon. We got to fix this shit. We got to fix it. That's all I
Yeah,
can say.
and
Wear a
you know, it
mask,
makes
damn
me
it. Let's fix it.
yeah. No,
Not
I could
not too
not
hard.
agree more. And you know what I will say? I almost feel like a lot of people who kind of just take it at surface level, people who aren't in the industry like you, and people who don't study the industry like Andrew and myself, I feel like they would just assume, for example, like Survivor is in better shape than a smaller band. But I would beg to differ. The more people that you typically would play a crowd to,
Yeah.
kind of the tougher of a situation you're going to be in.
Yeah.
Right.
And those bands have a whole slew of crew and agents
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
Right,
managers that need to get
exactly.
paid. There's like a
Yeah,
whole industry around one band.
at least with us not being able to play, it's just us that's out
Right.
of
Right.
work, and maybe
The
the 5 or 6 people that put on the show, but you guys by yourselves, just the band, brings on a whole crew of
yeah.
people that are now out of jobs too, that
The
don't have the fans to help support them with, like, buying their music or whatever.
yeah, the bigger bands, the national acts, the
Right.
Survivors and on, you know, they're going to be the last ones to go back to work.
Yeah.
You know, the cover bands might go back to work right away, you know, because there's social distancing kind of procedures some places have put in place, you know. I know guys that are playing to cars. Literally, that's their audience, cars.
Right.
I mean, how weird is that, right?
I've played local
Sure.
shows that looked like there was social distancing before it was mandated
Yeah,
by
that's
any
true.
government.
That's a decent amount of the
So
shows I've played in my
We've all
lifetime.
been there, man. I
I
know.
know.
Yeah. So
I,
those
I
shows, I'm sure, will still go strong.
yeah, right. So, you know, in fact, if more people show up to your show now than normal, it would actually be like amazing.
Exactly.
You know. But yeah, you're right. It's going to be a long time. Well, I wouldn't say a long time. It's just going to be it's going to have to be handled. In other words,
Right.
we're going to either have to have a treatment or a vaccine or some kind of confidence inducing situation
Mhm.
until we see that again, because that's like all they talk about on the news is that's the
Right.
worst you can do is, you know, is let's see, you can sneeze in someone's face or you can go to a concert, your choice, you know. And so
Right.
it's like the worst thing you can do, you
But
know. That's why you know, all the whoever, you know, big crowds and rallies and things like that, it's like I don't know, crazy
yeah,
what people are willing to do.
I hear you on that, man. But all in all, though, and
Yeah.
especially speaking to you last week, I got this vibe. It seems like you're in good spirits, though.
Well,
Like,
I'm talking about music.
there you
They
go.
didn't
That's
take my
true.
tongue away.
There you go. I love
And
that,
I'm
man.
talking to you
True.
guys, so I'm not in good spirits. This is a bad mood for me.
Wow.
Oh no, we'll have to change that, man, because it's a pleasure to chat with you, dude. Now let's paint the picture a bit before we
Okay.
sort of dive in too deep and progress through, because I feel like this is a great way the conversation usually travels anyways. We didn't quite get into this. I was saving this when we spoke last week because this is the music show of my two podcasts.
Right.
So I
I
want to
gathered
know, yeah, I want to know what, like, take us way back, like the first time, your first memory of seeing a piano or a guitar, and
Yeah.
then as a little kid just thinking like, ooh, that's a weird shape, I like that. Like, take us all the way
Yeah.
back and through your upbringing, you know, like how did you get to
Right.
Yeah.
doing Survivor?
Tell us
I'm
about
very
all the
curious,
weird
man.
shapes you remember as a child. We
'Cause
want
that's
to
my
hear about
memory.
that.
That's my memory with it. This ain't about me right now.
Well, you know, there's some guys that start like, you know, at 2 years old, you know, their parents plop them down on a piano or something like that. I kind of wish that was me,
Oh,
but
same.
I discovered music about 11 years old. I mean, I had been no, take it back. My aunt had a stack of Beatle records, vinyl. I still have them. She gave them to me. I don't remember. She's probably in college at the time. So she was getting rid of stuff. So I had Magical Mystery Tour and Rubber Soul and the White Album and Revolver and Sergeant Pepper. I had all those albums, and that was the beginning of my collection. And I don't know why, but I listened to those records like they were, um, you know, just holy books. I just would just listen to them and listen to them and listen to them. And I don't even really know why. I mean, I just enjoyed them so much. And my sister and I had always enjoyed music. It was always in the house. I mean, I didn't come from a musical family. Um, Nobody in my family actually plays an instrument, or they may have learned at one time. I think my mother played violin when she was a kid, and maybe there were people on her side of the family, but nobody in my immediate vicinity was a musician that I was like, I'm going to be like that. Nobody. So the people, in fact, I never really wanted to be like anybody that I noticed at that time in my life. I just really something was going on those vinyl records that just had me, from the minute I turned them on. There was just something about them. And I'm sure we all have an experience like that with certain artists and music that we grew up with. So that was the beginning. I had a pretty good collection of music at 10 years old, 11 years old. Aside from the Beatles, I had all the, Eagle records, everything from Eagles to Supertramp to Pink Floyd, um, you know, all the just, I mean, Paul Simon. My mother had a very, uh, you know, obvious collection. Her I say obvious, she had Neil Diamond and Paul Simon and Barbra Streisand and Petula Clark and all these artists that weren't necessarily heavy rockers or nothing. And then I discovered all that on my own because I kept looking. I discovered ELO and I discovered AC/DC and Zeppelin and all the good stuff. But the point is that I hadn't discovered that I could sing until a few years later. And I guess I was just having a good time. I remember back in those days, if you needed the lyrics and they weren't printed on the album, the paper, you literally, I just remember sitting there with the turntable, putting the needle down, going, okay, write that line down. Then the next line. I mean, it was laborious. It took hours to get all the lyrics. And I had pages of lyrics. They weren't my lyrics. They were lyrics from the records that didn't have the lyrics printed. Yeah. And so my dad was in the electronics business. So he came home with all like the coolest stuff, not the high end, audio stuff, but for consumers. So I had a double deck recording, like a cassette. So I could record something on one, take, then flip the cassette to the other side, then record my voice live with another track and record it. I couldn't adjust it after it was recorded. It was just, glued to the next track, but I was able to dub things. And so I got into recording like 13 years old. I started figuring out how I could dub my voice. And how I learned to sing was I remember I would put on, say, the Knack record, My Sharona or something. And I would play the record, hold the lyrics up to the microphone and hit record on the second deck and hit play on the turntable, and it would record both feeds on top of the record. So I would have recordings of me singing karaoke with the voice still on the cassette.
That's awesome.
And so that's what. But what's interesting about that?
That's up my alley.
If you take the voice out and you just sing and you don't know what you're doing yet, it's going to take you a while to find your style and find things and stuff. But because I was literally trying to mimic, and I didn't like the fact that I could hear my voice or hear the other person's voice. So I tried really hard to get all the inflections and record it just the way they did it, as 12 years old or 13 years old. And so it helped me because it defined, I was able to sing. I could sing like, Don Henley, or I could sing like, Robert Plant, or I could sing like, whoever the record was,
That's
and
so
it helped my voice. It helped me. I was just having fun. Right. And then when I got into high school or junior high, I was starting these bands with with the other kids that I kind of had something in common with musically, and but I didn't play an instrument, and it was kind of pissing me off that all the guys that played instruments had a little more control over what was going on in the room. And at 15 I was like, I gotta participate in this. Plus I'm singing everybody else's songs. So that's when I started picking up guitar. I got some guitar lessons, maybe 7 guitar lessons. um and but all during that time period I was taking all music classes. I had classical harmony classes, counterpoint. I was taking notation. I was taking everything I could take in high school to learn and I had outside teachers too. So I had a couple of really, really incredible. Everett Gordon was a teacher of mine that taught me from about 13 to 17, maybe 13, no, till about 20 years old. And he was the director of the Boston Philharmonic, and he was
Wow.
I've heard of that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's for sure.
and Bonnie Franklin, was it the Carpenters? Bonnie Franklin and the Carpenters and a couple other. He was the MD for. So I mean, this guy was like major guy, but he was teaching on the side, and so I don't know how my
Lucky
parents
you.
found him, but man, he taught me a shitload of stuff. I mean, stuff that you don't learn when you're a kid. Because I was around the real guy. That I would walk in one day and go, well, I want to record this. How do I do this? And we'd walk into the recording area that he had, and he'd show me how things were done.
Wow.
And
Wow,
I'd
that's
come home and
awesome.
say, Dad, I want an 8-track. What? Because back then they were like $5,000. You're like, you'll get a cassette deck. But anyway. But so
Wow.
that's kind of thing. I mean, music has been a part of my world since I was since I was able to start formulating my own opinions about things, and kind of right when I started getting more social in school. So it was always a backdrop. It was always something I was going to do. I never really thought about it as I want to be like that guy and idolize a particular style or artist. So we could go on and on, but I mean, that's stuff that I developed later on. But at the time, it was just, man, it was just so much fun. That was my drug of choice. It was just, I could get in front of people. They responded in a way that they didn't when I wasn't singing. And I could make noise and people liked it. And it was fun. That's really what music was. It was a way to explore the world,
Yeah,
around me at that time.
for sure. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm curious. What kind of kid were you in school? Like, were you outgoing? Were you a little more introverted?
I was both. I started. It depended. It depended on where I was. My dad moved a lot. My parents moved when I was really young. We moved a lot until about high school. So I was in different junior highs and different elementary schools. So I always remember having to start over with new kids and all that crap. But by the time I got to high school, I kind of got a little more introverted. I went from a small private school, which had like maybe a dozen kids in the senior class of junior high. Because back then, junior high was separate from the 9th grade, was not part of high school.
Oh, that's cool.
It was 7, 8, 9. That was junior high, and then
Hmm.
10, 11, 12 was high school. So when I got into high school, it was Taft High, man. It was a big high school with thousands of people, and I was a little overwhelmed. Kind of hard to get my footing, and music, wasn't something I brought to the school. I mean, I took jazz band in the morning. I had classical harmony classes, and I did all the stuff that I wanted to do, all my electives and everything. But I don't know, it was kind of personal. I got really personal with music. It was my thing, and I didn't really hook up with a lot of uh, decent musicians in high school. Like I wish I had, but I was a little bit of introverted at that point. I kind of went the other direction.
Gotcha.
You know.
Okay. So
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
how do you what's your first off, what would you say is your first serious job as a musician, and sort of how do you go from sort of, having it be your world in high school and all that, but not
Yeah.
meeting, serious people to jam with, because that's got to be frustrating. Thankfully,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Andrew and I, we were in an area, we have the Chance Theater in Poughkeepsie. I don't know if you ever heard of it. and a lot of bands get signed out of there all the time. The eyes are on it, so we kind of, it's almost like I would describe it as like a Yankee baseball camp, like how they have in Florida. They send the young guys down there, and if they do well
Right.
enough, they'll get
The
bumped up,
minor
and they'll
leagues.
get bumped up.
Yeah.
But
Right.
The
like
minor
normally,
leagues.
yeah, exactly. You know, we had a little bit
Exactly.
of like a training funnel, you know, and so it was really cool to see the way like this is good etiquette versus this isn't, and why are
Right.
these guys going somewhere?
How do you
Why are
learn
these
that?
guys?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but for you, I mean, it kind of seems like high school was it was maybe a little bit more harder to get those
For
arms
me,
spread.
for me, high school. Now, you remember, I'm going to speak. I'm going to say this sentence as if I was 15 or 16.
Okay.
Okay.
High school was a freaking waste of time. Let's pass this so I can get on with my life. That's how I
Right.
kind of treated high school. And it wasn't so much that I was in a shell and didn't want to talk to anybody. I just kind of felt like I'm ahead of this. I'm beyond this already. Because by the time I was in high school, I've been singing on stages. Now, albeit I wasn't in my own band, but I was playing with professional bands that, you know, had open mic nights and you know, other cover bands that I would, you know, show up and sing with them. So I was singing all the time, but it was kind of weird. It was I was kind of schizophrenic. I had this personality at high school that no one knew that I had this career thing going on. And then when I go home, I would just jump into the phone booth and I became Super Jeff. And now all of a sudden I gotta go, I got a gig, you know. But no one at high school really, I don't know, man. I don't know why I didn't assimilate in high school a little bit more. I just felt like I was getting what I needed elsewhere. And I was also I had two teachers outside of high school that were concurrently teaching me as well as the teachers in high school. And you know, I mentioned Everett Gordon, another guy named Nate Lamb, and both these guys were in the industry big time, and they were teaching me things that I wasn't getting from my harmony classes teachers. And so I kind of felt like I had a leg up, you know, and they were a little bit behind. Now there were things I was learning in high school, but unfortunately, I think what I should have gleaned from high school was the fact that that's where you make cool connections, and I wasn't doing that, you know, of people my age. I was leaving high school and doing that with older people. And that by the time I graduated high school, which is a whole nother problem and situation, because by then I was doing movies, so the music kind of took a hit for a little while. But by the time I ended high school, I finally was sort of realizing I you know, I liked the people that were my age, you know, and it took me a few years before I could figure that out. But I had been very comfortable around older musicians or older people, and I was just sucking it all up, you know, whatever they were teaching me. And yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean that. Look, I feel like there's a lot of benefits out of that. Being exposed to people who, you know, were the conductor, sorry, of the Boston
Yeah, I mean,
Philharmonia.
and
like that's
It's definitely not a bad friend to have.
that's not a bad friend to have, not at all.
And he was so cool with everything I asked him. I mean, I came to him one day. Now I play piano now and keyboards for a living. This is what I get hired to do. I session work, and I, you know, obviously with bands. But I never took any piano lessons. I knew how to read and write music from my music classes, and from, you know, writing 4-part harmony minuets and things like that, classical stuff. But most kids, or most people, I guess when they're really young, they apply what they learn musically to an instrument. That's the whole point. For me, I already had all the music knowledge. By the time I got to high school, I understood theory. I understood how music worked. I could look at it, know what it was doing. But I couldn't apply that to an instrument because I never trained my hands to follow the music. It wasn't something that I was doing because I was singing. I wasn't trying to be a player. But then I walked over to the piano in the house, which was not for me. It was for my sister, who didn't touch it for years. And I finally said, screw it, I'm just going to play the piano because this thing looks awesome. And I started to, you know, I put
There's the funny
letters
shape
on
you were
my
looking for,
keys,
Chris.
figured out what I was doing. And then I realized I could play piano. if I could just get my hands to do what I needed them to do. So that's when I asked, this teacher of mine, you know what, you're teaching me singing, you're teaching me recording, you're teaching me all this stuff. Show me how you do that. And so he gave me a few, tips on how to get my hands and scales working and stuff. And I don't know, some things just are right. Had I had piano lessons maybe when I was 10, maybe it would have been even better. I don't know, but it was not hard for me to learn piano by the time I decided to really take it and that be my instrument, which was by now I'm 15. I'm kind of late in the
Right.
game. But remember, my understanding of music is beyond a 15-year-old at this point. It's just my piano playing was not up to snuff with the rest of my understanding of music. So
Mhm.
I'm a very different, not typical on how a lot of these guys learn, and I came to things as I needed them. And remember, I was a singer songwriter. That's how I saw myself. So it wasn't that important that I was like a virtuoso on a particular instrument or not. It was just that I didn't want to walk into a room and not be able to talk to the musicians and not be able to direct how I want my song to go. And for that, I needed to learn the language. And the best way to learn the language is to learn how to play an instrument. And then you've got you've got control. You've got some kind of
Mhm.
power to speak about it. So that was my impetus to learn an instrument. It was more
Mhm.
so that I could keep my writing fresh and keep control of my writing.
Right. I've heard that the piano lends itself to, uh, like if you learn the piano, you can learn every other instrument so much easier just from everything you
Probably.
learn in the piano.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your approach to a piano is not anything like a guitar or a
Hmm.
bass or something.
Right.
Piano is everything is laid out.
Mhm.
Every note that is available to us in the Western world is right here on these
Yeah,
88 keys.
so true.
And there's no secrets. They're right
Right.
here. Where on a guitar, it's linear, and so and they're not even in an order that is an alphabetical order or anything like that. They're the strings are tuned differently, so they're
Right.
tuned so that they make chords when you put your hands around
You
them.
got to figure it out.
It's a little more of a puzzle in that sense. But I learned how to play both, and I also am left. At that time, I was favoring my left hand.
Mm.
Hmm.
Uh, so I made sure that I bought right-handed guitars and learned how to play right-handed because I wanted to be able to pick up any guitar and not have to go, I can't play that one. So
Wow.
I
Yeah.
kind of I'm ambidextrous. I mean, I can read, and I mean, I can write and throw a ball with either hand fairly well. Um, so at that age, I decided, yes, it's easier on left, but I'm going to learn to play right. And so that was another thing that was going on. So that's just stuff.
Yeah,
That's
I
some
wasted I
foresight right
wasted
there.
so much time playing video games, man. I wish I just did not do that.
Yeah.
That is some foresight right there, man. So I gotta ask, like, you know, what is your vision of yourself when you are just starting these lessons? It doesn't seem like it was ever just a hobby though. It seems like you had the roadmap planned out and you were just more so figuring out how to get there by
or
taking these lessons and,
Well,
or at least that
singing
you
every
knew
weekend
that
and
music was where you would be able to excel in life.
yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, that's probably more accurate. It wasn't that I had a roadmap. Nobody does. And I
Mhm.
certainly didn't have any kind of control over what I thought I was going to do. Um, in terms of me writing it down in like some kind of mission statement or something. Uh, I I just was I just knew that this is defining. It's funny. Music was helped shape my personality. And so because I was still figuring out who I was and all that. Um, so it was a tool for me to help me. I could identify. It built my confidence. It built my ability to communicate with people. And so because of this, it was more of an integral part of my learning process. So it wasn't so much that I said, "Oh, well, music's the thing for me." It wasn't really a choice. It was more like the air that I breathed. It was just
yeah.
another feature of my upbringing and how I related to the world. You know, But I did know instinctively somehow that music was going to be a part of my life, period. And I knew that at a very young age. I knew that by the time I discovered it, I would say about 13. I think I told you, Chris, on the last podcast that I was very into science. I wanted to be a
Yeah.
scientist, or
Mhm.
some kind, mostly, cosmologist or an astronaut, or not an astronaut, but an astrophysicist or an astronomer. I love that part of the sciences.
Mhm.
And I kind of struggled at 13. I remember sitting down, looking at my row of books on the shelf, going, okay, I'm going to do this music thing. So this is a big decision. Like I couldn't do both. I don't know what was wrong with me. But yeah, I kind of knew that this was going to be a heavyweight decision for me to say, I'm going to do the music. And I don't know why I didn't see it as a choice. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. It was just who I became, what I
Yeah.
chose to do.
No, I was just
Some things are just right, meant to
Yeah, I
be.
guess so. I mean, I knew this, and I think we all instinctively know this, that, when you do something that gives you not just joy and or other people joy, but it also enhances your life by virtue of helping you with your own identity, you're building your own character. It kind of answers questions for you. You
Right.
don't throw that. You don't walk away from that.
Right. It's
You
not
know,
just fun, it's fulfilling also.
fulfilling. That's a better word. Yeah, because who's thinking about money at 14 years old? I mean,
Right,
right.
maybe some
exactly.
guys are. I don't know, but I know I wasn't. I was thinking. This is
Right.
there's something here. This is what
You
life's about.
I think
This is it.
normally at 15, if you're trying to go into music, you're like, I want to be a rock star and get all the chicks. And
Yeah,
you're like, I
yeah.
want to hang out with those old guys at the Philharmonic and play some piano.
I think there's guys like that. I think that's totally legitimate.
Yeah, no,
I
we
mean,
need
who
rock
cares?
stars.
Who cares what the reason is? But here's the deal, okay? It the if the here's where it gets important to understand the difference. There's nothing wrong with saying I just want the chicks or I just want to be a rock star, but at some point you need to connect with something that speaks to you and that gives you an ability to communicate whatever you're trying to express. If you can't do that, then you're just a shell and there's nothing really going on, and you may not I won't say you won't succeed, but you probably won't. And so in other words, there has to be a sense of there has to be something that's genuine. Even and it's okay to say I want the chicks for it. It's okay, but you also have to have something to offer.
Mhm.
Just
Right.
wanting something isn't enough.
People can
Right.
see, I feel, when art is contrived, especially,
Oh,
when an
totally.
artist
Because
is trying
it's
to
your people know it's
yeah.
it instinctively.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, so
Mhm.
Jeff, last week when we had spoken, or earlier in this week, but if we're talking about when the episodes aired, which guys, by the way, we did an amazing episode which came out yesterday with Jeff on our show Talkin TV, where we
That was
kind of
cool.
dove into more of his acting side. And so you did bring up that, late high school acting came into play, and the way you kind of described it to Dom and I last week, it was more so kind of like it felt like a means to an end, just really to sort of keep propelling your career forward and figure out the next step. But it always felt like music was in the back of your mind. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, your choice to get into acting,
Yeah.
and sort of when it came about, and sort of what you were able to do with that part of your career, which also is
Yeah.
super successful.
Well, acting, like you already described, was not on the agenda. It wasn't something I was like, okay, and I got to do that too. It happened because when you're in when you're out there and you're performing in the public, and people are seeing you and you're young, and people are starting to kind of take notice. They're not they're not differentiating whether you're a singer or a musician or an actor. They're just trying to, they just see dollar signs. So they're just saying, hey, if I could get you acting work, I could make some money, or you could make some money, hence I could make some money. So that's kind of where a lot of that came from. I was, I live in LA, and I was in this show on Sunset that I played every weekend. And It was a kids show. It was a variety show at the Roxy. And so that's kind of, there were a bunch of actors and a bunch of other kid performers that were in that show. And there were tons of, stage moms and people that were pushing their kids into the business. So, I mean, I was around it, and I wasn't the type of person that you could not notice, I mean, I got up on stage and suddenly, I was, people took, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying this is what propelled me to the next, why I never gave up, why I continued to go was also because every time I did get in front of people, I got an incredible amount of energy coming back at me. And it wasn't like, quit your day job, or don't quit your day job, kid. It was always like,
Right.
what are you doing here? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that kind of always made me feel like there was more to what I was doing than just than just fulfilling myself. There was a career here maybe. So when someone approached me and said, you should do acting, I was like, what do you got? Sure. And I kind of went down that road thinking that'll probably lead me to something else that might lead me to something else. I mean, it wasn't like planned. So anyway, I don't really want to harp on it too much because this is a music thing podcast, right? And
Yeah,
the acting
totally.
thing, and the acting thing's important in the sense that it was another uh another medium that I was able to contribute or have something to do in, but it never really took off for me. It wasn't like I got an acting bug after that and decided, oh my God, I've been wrong all along. I should have been,
Hmm.
Shakespeare was my answer or whatever,
Yeah, totally.
So no,
Yeah,
it
no, I
was
just
like,
think the listeners would probably be curious. As I told you, both of our shows have, thankfully, a very different audience. So, guys, go check out where we really speak about this guy knows his stuff about film if you're into that type of thing. And it'll all be linked later. But, Jeff, you know what I'm wondering right now? And this is really the big thing I was saving from last week.
I'm
I want
excited.
to know the road to Survivor. I want to
oh
know,
yeah,
Ooh.
you're out of high school, and you've had your experiences, and you talked about that. Didn't really quite find the serious guys, but you didn't let that stop you. You kept plugging away, kept taking every
right.
opportunity you could. So how do you get to Survivor? And please spare no expense on the way if you can. I'd love to know every
Well,
detail
We
about.
we love the
this is
details.
part of the story now that's gonna disappoint you because
Okay.
every other aspect of my career had a kind of a cool story to it. I fell into the Karate Kid. I fell into this, and I did. I had a feature film, and I could tell you more about my music stuff and some of the people that I work with prior to Survivor. But Survivor was never. First of all, they weren't on my radar. Certainly not now. Not in 2016 or whatever it was. uh they had sort of fallen off the radar for me. I wasn't really paying attention. um and they literally, I swear, this is it's going to be boring, but I got an email. That's the end of that. I got an
Yeah.
email from the manager, and the funny thing is I didn't believe it either. I got this email that
I
said,
wouldn't believe it
swear.
either.
No, well, you'll even think so even more when I tell you what it said. It was one sentence. Would you be interested in playing keyboards for Survivor? That's it.
Yeah, that
There
sounds
was
like
no
spam
phone
to me.
number,
Oh
no
my
phone
god.
number, no name, nothing. Just an email.
Honestly, I think I might have gotten that email before. Pretty
So
sure.
I looked at it and I said, this has got to be a joke. Who does this? And
Yeah.
do they mean? And I had to think about it. I'm like, do they mean the Survivor? Maybe it's a
Right.
cover band or something. I don't know.
Who
So,
knows?
but then I noticed that the email address came from Irving Azoff's office, and I'm sure
Heard
you
of
guys as
him.
musicians know
Sure, of
who
course.
Irving Azoff was.
Heard of
You
him.
know, yeah, yeah. So I was like, okay, this is probably them. So I answered back with one word. I figured, fair is fair. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why
Listen, I
not?
mean, as much as that's like kind of a boring story, that's a great flex. Like you just without any sort of context or anything, it was just boom, Survivor's like, you want to play keyboard?
Yeah, and
Like,
you
yeah,
know
why
Exactly.
not?
And I mean, I had been playing keyboards by then, as I do now, all over LA. I mean, I've been, playing in tons of bands with lots of different players. In fact, the keyboard player that was currently with them at that time, I knew. I didn't know he was the guy that was in Survivor at the time, but I looked him up and I was like, oh, I know that guy. You know, I've seen him play before. I know people that are friends with him. So it's a smaller community of people when you get, you know, on with people on that level. It's not a, you know, as big as it would be, say, in, you know, just cover bands and stuff like that. That's a bigger community. So it was surprising, and I do not know for a fact how they got my email. I know they came from my website, and it may have something to do with some of the things that all the shows I was doing and various places I may have popped up, you know, on their searches, in their search. The search is over. It's a little inside Survivor joke. Anyway, but yeah, I had no idea that was coming, and I didn't know that I wasn't like planning on it. I hadn't, like, you know, reached out to them saying, you know, check me out or something like that. They already had made their decision pretty much.
Yeah,
by the time they hit me up.
wild. So then I guess we kind of have to ask, like, what, you know, because that's a pretty big name that you got emailed from. What did you do in between, you know, high school and then getting that email asked to be on that radar? You know, you had to build up some sort of resume.
Sure. Well, I mean, I've worked with various people. Clive Farrington. I was his musical director for a little while. Clive Farrington is, if you guys remember, the band When in Rome. Look it up. It's an '80s band. They were one of the UK new wave bands that were popular. They had that song "Promise." I promise you, I will. Anyway,
nothing's ringing a bell, unfortunately. I'll have to check them out though.
Yeah. It was a big hit. It was a big hit in the '80s, and he had this huge hit. And I was doing stuff with him. I had a lot of friends that I was playing in different shows, you know, from Vegas and here, and just playing with lots of people. And so it could have come from one of those people that you know, hey, I know a keyboard player kind of thing. What's interesting too is that I learned from Survivor later on that they really didn't, they weren't really comfortable finding a guy from California. They wanted a guy that was where they were, which was in Chicago, and their current keyboard player was living in LA. So I was really pretty surprised that they, you know, they kind of had their mind set that they reached out to me, and they kind of had an idea that whether I were going to say yes or not, but they kind of knew what they wanted, and it would have been nicer for them had I been from Chicago. But the fact that they came all the way to LA for me, you know, must have been for some reason somebody had said something. You know, what's really amazing though was, and this is the big thing, I think this is the tie-in with your other podcast that we didn't get to, but it's really amazing. I think it's amazing. Hopefully your listeners will too. It's when I joined the band, I was doing my research, and I want to make sure I understood every album and what was on all the albums, and what I wanted to know the history. And I'm doing my research, and I come across, you know, of course, The Moment of Truth, which is the theme song for The Karate Kid, which was recorded by Survivor. But here's the weird thing. The video for the song Moment of Truth, I'm in. By virtue of being in the movie, they used scenes in which I was in, and there's Jimmy Jameson singing the song, and then they flash to a scene with me. And it's
like, almost a bit of poetic justice how you found them after, you know, so much time.
I was gonna say, you can't make this stuff up.
I said to Frankie Sullivan, he's the guitar player, and he's the guy that wrote "Eye of the Tiger." I said to him after I met him, and I went through a little bit of an audition process over a period of days, you know, and I think on the last day before I was flying home, I said I knew he was going to offer me the gig, and I said to him, I kind of felt I got it, you know, and he says, I said to him, I said, man, I wish you'd called me like 20 years ago. You know, he says, if I knew you, I would have, you know.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting. I've had other kind of near misses, you know, 2 ships passing in the night with them. there was a recording studio there in Canoga Park, which is in LA. I know you guys are East Coast, but it was called Rumbo Recorders, and Rumbo was a recording studio that was kind of not on the, it was off the beaten track. It wasn't down near Sunset Strip or any of the Hollywood places. And so all the big bands would come to record at Rumbo. It was owned by Daryl Dragon, and Daryl Dragon was the other half of Captain and Tennille. And Daryl was an enormously talented keyboard player. I mean, this guy was everybody you'd want to, he's the person you'd want to learn a lot of shit from. I mean, this guy was one of those guys, and he built the state-of-the-art recording studio. I mean, it's where Guns N' Roses recorded Appetite for Destruction. It's
Heard of that.
It's where Vital Signs was recorded for Survivor.
Heard of that.
Now, funny thing is, and David Bowie and just everybody recorded there, especially since it was not in Hollywood. They weren't going to walk out the front door and get, blasted with fans and stuff. And they could kind of do their thing. Anyway, make a long story short, I was in a band called The Reach. And the guitar player, his name was Patrick Boland. And he was touring with Kenny Rogers and Kim Carnes and the Pure Prairie League. And I know that these are older bands, but if you look up Pure Prairie League, you'll be like, holy shit, those guys were amazing. He was in that band. And like I said, I was about 22 or 23 at the time. And he was certainly older. All those guys in that band, they were like 10, 12 years older than me. And so they all had record deals and stuff. And I was in pretty good company. He knew Daryl Dragon, and Daryl heard our demos and gave us the studio, this multi-million-dollar, crazy, amazing studio, to come in and record our demos. Just free access to the whole thing. And Daryl himself gave me a tour of the studio. And so I'm in rehearsal 30 something years later with Survivor. And can you hear that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's that Poor Man's Son is a song that was one of the first one of the first records that was played on the radio for Survivor before Eye of the Tiger. And there was a Wurlitzer part that just went, and I started playing it, and he stopped me, and he goes, because he's just, when I say he, I mean Frankie Sullivan. Remember, 40 years this guy has been touring, and just amazing career. And he stops me and goes, "You know who played that part?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "Daryl Dragon." Wow. Daryl Dragon played on their albums, while they were at Rumbo. And I was at Rumbo, and I had to do the math and figure the years out. And I was like, I could have been coming out the door, and they could have been walking in. That's how weird that was.
You've had so many, just like you said, ships passing in a night moments, haven't you? That's phenomenal.
The universe has been trying to get you into Survivor for like 30.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I would like to think, though, and in all seriousness, I'd like to think that the universe has bigger plans for me. Maybe Survivor is, because Survivor's a great band, and their catalog is just amazing songs. I mean, these guys wrote brilliant. Right. What's great about them, before I finish my thought, was back in those days, you had bands like White Snake and Guns N' Roses, but they didn't have any keyboards. Mm-hmm. And bands like Foreigner,
right? They had the occasional piano, but only in the ballads.
REO Speedwagon, Loverboy. Those bands had tons of piano and synth work in them. So that's what intrigued me about Survivor, is that they were still a kind of a heavy band most of the time, but they had this 80s kind of piano synthy thing going on.
They had a little flavor.
Yeah, they were kind of in the middle of, did they play them on rock stations? Did they play them on adult contemporary? It was,
there's the song High on You. That's my favorite one. And exactly. Yep.
Whoa, it's like you're in the band.
Exactly, and that's
That's
your point in
awesome.
case, right? I mean, is
I
that
hope we don't get sued for that.
Hey, I mean, if anything, that's on us. But it was awesome
Yeah.
regardless. But I
Uh,
mean, that song, you're right. It's kind of like more modern, like bands like The Fray or Coldplay, right? Like they have some
right.
Right.
some more rockin' tracks, but then they
I like the Fray
also
too.
kind of
Survivor, like
yeah, The Fray are great.
Haley Williams said about Paramore, Survivor is too rock for the pop, but too pop for the rock.
Yeah, that's the way to put it, But it
Yeah.
worked for them. I mean, I think High on You was top 10.
Mhm.
Can't Hold Back, another huge song, and Search is Over, which was number 2 on the US charts. I mean, these guys did not have
They're
one
not
hit.
one-hit wonders. Yeah,
They are
exactly.
not, obviously the Eye of the Tiger, is such a song. I mean, the Eye of the Tiger is bigger than Survivor at this point.
I was just gonna say it's like
Yeah,
it's like Michael Jordan kind of thing with
it's
basketball.
Yeah,
crazy.
it has a
It's
cultural
just,
impact just
yeah,
beyond the band. I mean, that song is used in so many different
yeah.
applications, so many
It's
scenarios, just
Right.
recognizable.
it's part of the what are they, it's just part of the fabric of our society
Right.
to know the Eye of the Tiger, to the whole that whole
It's
iconoclastic.
ingrained in our culture.
How many
Yeah,
times are you
it's
watching a
crazy.
sports game and you hear that in the background, like the arena's
I know.
playing it, and you just
I
hear
know.
them,
Exactly.
just chugging away
It's
the intro.
unbelievable
Yeah.
what they were able to achieve with that. And the most incredible feeling, and I have to say, this is one of the most exciting things about being in Survivor, was that they all want to hear the hits, of course, and just you don't want to deny these people of that, but when we play Eye of the Tiger, yeah, I mean, holy crap! It's just like a freight train of energy coming back from. They all
Yeah,
stand up and they crowd the stage. This was pre-COVID, of course.
of
They
course.
they crowd the stage, and the energy is just nuts. I mean, it's just wow. And I haven't had the fortune to experience that with my own music, but I have experienced it with theirs.
Right. Well,
It's
it's like
something, man.
I'm sure that 9 out of 10 times somebody's got a thing they can think of where they heard that song in a movie or a TV show and it gave them chills. So I can imagine what it's like to be like in a crowd at a
Yeah,
concert. You're hearing all this great music and then it just goes digga 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 digga, and it's just like it hits this thing in your brain. You're like, I know
yeah,
this. I know this more than I know myself.
Yeah.
right.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's happening right here. Like, it's
They
got to be
they they
crazy.
no longer have control of their own bodies at that point. They're just,
Exactly. They're
you
not
know.
on Earth right now. They're just in
Right.
the eye of the tiger for the
It's
next
it's
three
it's
and a half
it's
minutes.
it's really cool. It's really cool. Because I mean, any band could have come knocking,
Right.
and it was them. So shit.
Yeah.
It was
Now,
awesome.
Jeff,
But
before we
yeah,
let you
go
go
ahead,
here,
go ahead.
and I know you have a studio session to get to, but this show, a big part of our audience on this show is Andrew's peers and I, people who are really trying to like make the music thing a career, do what you've been able to do. So
Right.
I usually, and I don't think this needs to be more, but I actually think it's pretty positive. It will probably start a little dark, and if you don't mind, I think a lot of our listeners could get a lot out of knowing, like, because in entertainment there's ups and downs. Like, would you mind letting
Yeah.
us in even the slightest bit to
Sure.
like your lowest point where you might have felt helpless or you didn't quite know what
Uh,
to do next, and then
yeah.
obviously you're here
Every
now.
day.
So
Every
every
day.
day, okay,
Every
Every
day.
day.
Every day is a struggle, and not all struggles are equal. Okay, some are hard, and some are worth really, some are worth getting up in the morning for. So when I say every day, I'm not trying to be facetious or anything, or make light of it. I'm basically saying that, if you're interested in a career, if you're first of all, you should be interested in the art form, or what it is that your craft is, and what it is that you care about. If you're just in it to make money, then then go into, like,
There are easier ways to make money.
be a day trader or something, go into
Right.
stock market. But I mean, seriously, the music business is not a fun business in the sense that it's fair. Just throw fair out the window. Okay, and it's not about that. You have to be very, very, very insulated and strong on your own to be able to deal with the uh, trials and the tribulations and all the disappointments you're going to have to face. There's a lot of people that want to be in this business, and a lot of people that think they deserve to be in this business, or deserve your money, for something that they're creating. And the point is that I think you have to shift. At least I can only speak for myself, but for with regard to how dark it can get or how hard, I think what helps everybody or what would help me is that it's not. I don't equate the business with my music, or with what I do. There's the business, and that's the business. And then there's me creating and me being fulfilling what it is that I started out as a 13-year-old doing. And I didn't come into this business with the idea I was going to make $1 million and own own a huge portion of whatever. The point is that the idea was, there was no idea. It was just a sense that this is a part of me. So I think I'll try to simplify it. Basically, what I'm saying is that don't base what you do on tomorrow's reward or something. It's not what you should be doing. What we should be doing is honing your craft, getting more in touch with who you are as an artist and why you do it. I mean, I sit at the piano for hours and hours and hours. Do I accomplish anything? Am I solving cancer? Am I fixing the problems of the world? No. But I am creating an environment for my mind and for my world to thrive. And so I don't think that just because it doesn't bring $1 in, it's not less valuable, And I think it's the values. I think it's where you place your value. If you can shift that so that you're not being dictated to by the almighty dollar or the push to succeed all the time, then you'll be insulated so that you can concentrate on what's important. And then when those things do come, you're well grounded and you can deal with them when they're not there.
Right. I think that's a big thing that you're touching on, is like, especially with people our age and stuff, is you have to figure out what your priorities are, because that's like,
Yeah.
where you spend your time is important. And if you're spending your time thinking about, just like, how much should I charge people to come to my show? Like, you're not really thinking about the super important part, probably.
Yeah,
And
I'm not trying to tell you that those aren't important decisions or that
right, for
you
sure.
shouldn't be you shouldn't be losing sleep over them. I'm just saying that you shouldn't be your being and who you are shouldn't be modified or shouldn't be affected by those decisions.
Right.
You should have enough musical armor around you so that, fuck it, I'm going to still do what I want to do.
Right.
And you guys at your age, I would say, are the luckiest that in many years, because you've got YouTube and you've got so many mediums that if you are true to your artwork and your craft and you just need to get it out, no one's stopping you. I'm not saying that you're not going to be heard or you will be heard. That's unfortunate. I mean, that's a difficult process, and some people figure it out. They understand how to play the popularity contest that the internet is, but that isn't necessarily where the good artwork is. And you have to delineate that in your head. You have to kind of figure that out and go, what I'm doing is got value, even if it's just for 3 people. Now, how to make money, that's a different issue, and I can't tell people or myself, at a particular time in my life where, maybe I would have done better financially had I not done this or that, but you can't look at your life in segments. You have to look at the whole picture, and you have to say, am I going to be a more fulfilled, happier person and make better decisions for me and the people that I care about if I'm doing this rather than just going for the gold all the time or going for the money, and if you can just justify that and find that happy space, that's kind of where it is. It's kind of, it's kind of like Andrew, what do you play?
I play bass and drums.
Perfect. You're going to be perfect for my example. You know all about the pocket, right?
I try to live in it.
Exactly. And we all try to live in it. And that is not just a musical thing. It's actually a real place to be in your life, because you can be too fast, you can be too slow, but to find that happy medium, it's a push and pull. It's never one tempo. It's a variation of tempos. It's an average. And no one can tell you where that feels good. But you know it when you're there. And
That's
that's
true.
what music is. That's where you need to be in your life. If you can ride that little, and you have to give yourself enough space to know that you're going to be knocked into the I'm rushing a bit, and you're going to be knocked into I got to pick it up,
I'm dragging.
or dragging sometimes. That's going to happen. But that shouldn't be the focus. The focus is, okay, I'm dragging, so I'll push it a little bit, whatever. The point is that you always want to try to maintain that. Where's my camera? That that middle, that you're riding that crest, and
Mhm.
it's life is a balance. Music is a balance. Why do we have a verse and a chorus? And why is the chorus louder and more more full
Right.
of music? Why does it have more layers than the verses? Well, because if it was all chorus, it wouldn't be very interesting. You have to have your dissonance and your resolution. You have to have your
Right.
quiet, and you have to have your
You
mezzo
need
forte.
you need the
You know,
dynamics.
you need that dynamic, but it's not just dynamics, because that's easy. I can play it louder and I can play it soft. That's not what it's about. It's about
Right.
using your dynamics as a tool to try to ride that wave.
Mm.
And that's what I love to do. That's why I discovered being on stage is the only place where I'm able to find that little niche for me. And sometimes when I'm writing, but I do it in front of people better. Like if I have people in the room and they're not paying attention, I'm writing a song, I'll probably write a better one. It's just I need an audience. But
Yeah,
I've learned that
Right.
about myself.
I
Not
hear that.
everybody's like that.
Right.
Um, if you asked me to sit here and give you my thoughts and you weren't on the screen, and it was just record your thoughts down, I would probably give you the same thoughts, but I enjoy it more, excuse me, with an audience. That's who I am. That's what I've discovered about myself as a musician. And I've just, I don't see what I do as a musician apart from what I am in my life. So I don't act differently in different situations. I'm always looking to find that zone, try to temper too fast or too slow.
Mhm.
I'm always doing that because it's not really about just music. It's really just how I live my life. And I'll say one more thing. And I also think, getting back to, what's important and how to ride those crests when the downtimes come, is that no matter what happens out there, you're kind of can find that place where you can center yourself, so that you're affected only to the degree that you allow yourself to be. It's
Right.
not easy, man. It takes a lifetime to do that, and some people figure it out young, some people never figure it out. Hopefully
Yeah.
drugs ain't the answer, because
Right.
it might solve it a little bit
Hmm.
for a day or a week or a year, but eventually that's just going to destroy your body anyway.
Yeah.
um you know uh, so I'm just saying that find your happy place, figure out what makes you tick, and don't do it too hard and don't do it too soft. Figure it out, and apply that.
Mm.
That's how I'm in a
Phenomenal.
band too, when I'm with a band.
Jeff, I
Wow.
feel like, because Andrew, I would say, before we let you go, or I'll leave you with the sentiment, Andrew's like one of my rocks. Like, he's one of my closest and oldest friends at this point in my life. And I go to him for a lot of advice. And I feel like this is what he's been trying to tell me for the better half of 2 years now. Everything that you just put down. I mean, Andrew, how would you attest to that?
No, I
But
mean, yeah,
you know
that's like the end goal that I've been trying to get to in my life too. So you kind of just like brought our friendship to a nice little point here that
Yeah.
Oh, that's
hopefully
good.
isn't
I'm
the end of
glad,
it.
man.
Well, here's the thing, man. It's that a lot of this stuff really can't be verbalized.
Hmm.
I mean, when you ask someone to tell you, "Oh, stay in the zone, don't do that," I mean, they
Yeah.
sound like words, and I know that they're not words because I understand what I'm saying, but you don't really need the words, because you guys have the luxury of being musicians, and there's nothing closer to understanding what balance is than being a good musician. If you are just do your job as a musician and try to be true to the material, it'll force you to find those zones automatically. And so if you just remember what that feels like and apply it to other situations in your life, you'll suddenly take on it'll become a zen thing for you. It won't be something you have
Hmm.
to verbalize and think about.
It'll be a
you
flow
know
state.
yeah. I mean, when when do you prefer drums, or you prefer bass or
Drums for sure, yeah.
Yeah, because drums is got to be probably in pop music and rock. It's got to be the most important instrument, really, in terms of its feel.
I mean, that's what I've been trying to say, but
Well, I mean, it may not contribute to harmony. It may not contribute to the lyrics in
Right.
that sense, in the actual musical sense of it. But what it does do is as human, this will answer the question. As human beings, we really, our vocabulary and our ability to speak, our dialogue is horrible. It does not really, English, Chinese, Russian, I don't care what it is. It doesn't really come close to the gamut of emotions that we have. But music comes closer. And it does so because it's not about, in order to talk, I have to first learn a language. I have to understand what that language means. I have to parse my words so that they are in line with my emotional feelings about it. I mean, think about what's happening in milliseconds.
Right.
But when you're playing drums or you're playing an instrument and you're just communicating what that instrument is, you're actually speaking multitudes of languages all at the same time. And your body knows what's going on. It doesn't need all those words to hammer you down. So when your guys get together and you're playing a groove, if something's going on and you're not feeling it, these guys will know immediately,
right?
Because they can't react to you properly. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys just remember that, and while you're playing, you don't have to talk about it. It doesn't have to be a weird thing. Just know that I mean, what do you play? You're a guitar player, right, Chris?
Guitar player and singer, yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing that you're going to be able to do to make his feel better, meaning drums. So if he's laying down a groove, it's going to actually make you sing better, and those lyrics are going to now express. The point is that I told you this on the last podcast. What we're doing as musicians is not music. It's just communicating. It's another language. It's another way to communicate thought and feelings to other human beings. So if you're laying down some drums and you got a cool groove going on, it's going to affect you in a different way than it would be if it wasn't there, or if it was a bad, crappy groove or whatever, or it didn't feel good. And depending on what the lyric is, and depending on what you're trying to communicate to your audience, every one of the elements of that piece of music is leading to coming out of your mouth at the end of the you know what I mean? If you looked at it as a train, you might be at the front of it, but the caboose, who's laying down that groove? It starts there, Anyway, I don't want to sound stupid or nothing. I'm just basically trying to say that there's a way to access that zone without having to be, stupid and talk about it, because it is trite when you say it. It sounds less important or trivial, but it is a real thing, And you get in a room with people and collaborating and writing music, it's the same thing. You don't always necessarily need to be talking about what you're feeling. You can just, play a chord. Whatever it is, oh, okay. And then that next chord might lead somewhere else. It's a freaking language. And just don't separate the fact that this language is different and outside of you. It's not. It's just, I'm using words because that's how we have to communicate on this thing.
Right.
But we could use music too, and it'd probably be more fun. You get my point?
It's just 100%. You're cutting out the middleman, just going straight to the instrument.
Yeah. It's like plugging the IV straight in.
Exactly. It's like you stop talking with your mouth, which can confuse people and has a barrier, but you just talk with what's inside, which is just inside everybody.
Yeah. I think that's what I love about performing, is that you really can't hide if you're playing an instrument or you're singing, especially singing, because you can't hide that shit. I mean, you either know what you're talking about, or have some connection to something that people get,
right,
or you're lost. And people know that right away because they don't know that they know that, because it's just ingrained in
no one's ever told them.
DNA. It's a way the mind and body works. It's just the way it works. When you're getting bamboozled, or you're being lied to, or even worse, when someone's up there that isn't connecting, and they don't know why. but you
Right.
do. You know,
Yeah,
that's a horrible
that
feeling
that
to
is true.
witness.
Yes,
You know,
especially
So
with
true.
some of the shows Andrew and I have played. But
Yes.
it is what
Wow,
it is, man.
honestly, I feel like we just had the same, like,
Yeah,
level of content in the last 5 minutes that we did in the whole hour that we just talked. That was so much,
dude, you
like,
drove the
good
hammer home
stuff.
there. I mean, that was just yeah, I
oh,
get it,
that's
all of
cool.
it.
Color me fulfilled
Yeah, Jeff, dude.
from this talk.
I'd love to hear some of your music.
Okay.
Send me a track or something.
Yeah,
Oh
I'll
yeah.
send you. I'll
Oh
send
yeah.
you in an email.
Yeah.
I appreciate you asking,
Listen,
man.
if we need a keyboard player, we'll definitely hit you up.
Sure. It's not like I could say I have no time.
That's true.
Jeff, man, this was phenomenal. Again,
Yeah.
we appreciate you just giving me
Way
2 hours of your
way
week, dude. Like, thank
exceeded
you.
my expectations by a
You know
million
what I
fold.
loved about this is that I often don't get to talk. I talk to my musicians that I work with,
Mhm.
like today, where I'm going to have a chance to do that again. But you know, on these kind of podcasts, I never talk to musicians. I'm always
Mhm.
talking to, like, you know, an '80s guy or a guy that just wants to interview somebody or whatever it is. So this is especially cool because I mean I don't know you guys as musicians, but I know that you
Right.
are, and
Mhm.
we're probably have a lot in common. So it's really easy to have fun in a conversation like this. So
Right.
I'm really happy that
Well,
you asked me.
that's high
Dude,
praise. Thank you.
what I'll just say is whatever you just put down there to, convey your point, I was feeling 100% of that. That was just so yeah,
Listen,
we're
we will have
definitely
you
in a
back.
similar
We'll have you back whenever you want, pretty much.
Yeah,
yeah, man.
if you guys do a like a show, uh I mean, especially with regard to music, if you guys are doing a show where there's a particular subject you think that we want to delve into, we don't have to go into my history or all that
Right.
crap. We can.
Absolutely.
Totally.
I'd be more than happy to just be a guest, and we can talk about, maybe it's something you guys are trying to work out musically or something, and you know what would this person say, or you know, I don't know what you guys. I haven't listened to this podcast before,
Mhm.
so I don't
It's
know
okay.
what your
I don't
subjects
listen
are.
to it either, so.
That's scary.
No, Jeff, man, your kindness is it's
But I'd be
overwhelming. We
happy
we
to.
really
Is my
appreciate it,
point.
man. Thank you
Yeah.
so much,
So
dude. And
We
you're
appreciate
welcome.
thank
that.
you again for your time. Thank you again to April for reaching out and making this all happen.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
Shout out April.
she's really the
Thank you,
reason
April.
why. So
She's
Jeff,
awesome.
dude, you are obviously going to be back on. You're always more than welcome. And I know for a fact that not only has it been a while since we've had an interview, but I know for a fact that our listeners are going to, be hard pressed to find an interview we've done that is better than this one. So
Yeah.
just
Wow.
thank you
Yeah.
again so much for this
I'm
experience.
glad I
man,
did.
'cause
I'm
that,
glad I didn't sound like a whole bunch of gibberish.
no, not at all. Especially
You
since
made
we,
you made like every other
yeah.
episode we've had sound like gibberish.
Yeah, pretty much. But Jeff, before we let you go, I mean, you've spoken a lot about a lot of what you've done, and there's got to be a place on the internet to find it, right?
Yeah. My website, jeffreybryanmusic.com, spelled JEFFREYBRYAN, the word music.com. I just released a couple new tracks, by the way. They're on Spotify and Apple and everywhere. So go to my website and you'll see me singing and playing. And during the early on during this COVID situation, I was making videos of some of my songs and some cover tunes. I would just take a cover tune and just, you know, kind of do my own thing with it. So I made little videos. So that's up there, and I've got some of my catalog up there and links to my stuff. So that's the best way to go.
Cool. JeffreyBryanMusic.com, guys, and it will be in the description of this video and on your favorite DSP, digital streaming platform. So, Jeff, once again, man, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll
Thank you.
be in touch, man. We really
Yeah.
will.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your
Yeah. Let
session
me know
later.
when. Oh, sorry.
Enjoy your session later.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. I will. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me, and let me know when you're going to air this.
We'll do.
I'm
Absolutely.
sure you
We'll do.
will.
We'll send you
Okay.
an email. And as always, guys, stay sweet.
Yeah.
Stay sweet.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
See ya.
too.
Good night.